Hey everyone, it's Nolan Wheeler. Welcome back for another episode of Modern Work Mondays. As always, I have with me my good friend,
Jeff Strasser, Microsoft. Good to see you, Nolan.
buddy. How are you?
Doing well. Doing
Good,
well.
good. Hey, we've been batting back and forth on different topics, just naturally, actually, through different accounts. And I thought let's talk a little bit about, obviously AI has got a great attribute to take a look at all the legacy data that we have out there, and we're always drowning and dying in data. But there's an interesting thing here, which is where there's a lot of new novel data, and that novel data, for me, I think about it as nobody was ever uploading like a letter and saying, "Hey, AI, polish this." That wasn't something that we could do in the past, and in our world, there's a lot of things with like voice on the front line. So let's just dive into the kind of the cute, neat thing around all of the new data that's coming out and just how a lot of this stuff is something that we've never been able to capture or even know about before.
Yeah. Well, there's tons of data from so many legacy systems, right? So the first challenge we have in working with our customers around AI is bringing that data together. And that doesn't necessarily mean moving it from its original location, but bringing it together in a virtualized way. So AI can reason over it, and we can gather insights in the business and bring that data together and deliver it out to in the form of insights or reports or make decisions based off of it. So that's of course key. Once we start actually putting this all into play, like you mentioned, like there's so much work happening now, especially on the stores, and that's communications, whether that's written communications or digitally, of course, that's voice communications, taking all that great information and feeding it back into the system, right? Because we want to bring kind of the real time what's happening to back to the back end and inform, or support the data that's already there as we make new decisions and gather new insights into the business. So part of implementing a successful kind of AI implementation, let's call it, maybe it's a set of agents that are running our stores, is being able to bring both the data, so the results within the stores and the outcomes of what's happening, but also how the stores are operating and how the people are working and the conversations that are happening around what's working in the stores, what's not, where they're spending their time and where they're not, because all those insights become super important to continuously optimize the way the business is working.
Yeah, so like for us, it's like how do you capture that data? And this is the neat stuff that comes around. One, being careful. I get a little vibey when people are talking about promiscuously listening to people's conversations. So, if we think about what's naturally in there, we've got good phone traffic, we've got good paging traffic. So many retailers are still using radios. So, aggregating all that data, we're finding that the average tier one big box does about 1,000 comms a day in a store, either through paging, radios, or a combination thereof. So getting all that, again, this is where this like that novel data we've never known. What are the stores all talking about? When are we paging for these issues, and are they super urgent? Or are they just more so just a general comm? So getting all that data, getting it up into the cloud, and then throwing like 30 different co-pilots at it to really understand kind of what's going on. It reminds me of, what Home Depot is doing, which is, hey, everybody go to the store one day a month. You need to understand the business. This is AI sitting in your stores 365, open to close, understanding what's going on with all that voice comm.
That's the best thing about AI, right? It's working all the time and it's doing the things that most people aren't going to do, right? It's not that they're, in this case, like nobody's sitting there today listening to radio traffic. You could put a human in every store and just sit there all day listening to radios and typing in or writing down on a piece of paper what's happening. Nobody's doing it. So this is purely supplemental and improving how the store operates. And the correlations you'll be able to make between how people are spending their time in the stores and what are the things they're talking about to the performance of the store itself. I would be shocked if if there are not some very strong correlations in those conversations and ultimately the experience in the stores.
I'll leave you with this. I used to run stores, and a lot of times on a closing shift, you'd have to do your big handwritten note for your opening manager to take a look at and say, here's how the day went, here's how truck went, here's this issue or that issue, take a look for this, sorry I didn't get to that, or whatever it is. One, it was like a half an hour waste of time. I guess it was a critical use of time, but it would seem like in today's era a waste of time based on the technology that's available. And two, it was my biased view of how the night went, and it was how much effort I wanted to put into that note at the end of the night. So maybe I'll volley that over to you, because I think our next video is going to be talking about the reporting of issues. I'll volley that over to you, and then we'll kick off to reporting of issues next week.
Yeah, I mean that's the difference between getting one person's maybe opinion of how things are going, and that could be, you could be saying, writing things up in your report because you want attention or you don't want attention to certain things that may have gone, versus kind of ultimately the truth and the real data. And you want to make decisions off real data and not somebody's opinion or potentially biased feedback on how the day went.
Awesome. I'll see you next week. We'll do reporting of issues.
Sounds great.
Have a good week.